Hey, good evening, everyone. How are you all doing? So, I welcome you all to yet another Essentials program in Let's Upgrade. That is Machine Learning Essentials. So, let me see how many students are joining us. So, I see close around 150 students and more to join going ahead. So, before we move ahead, right? So, first of all, let me clear I'm not going to be a trainer. So, your trainer is going to be Satyam Tripathi, who will be joining in a moment. But before we actually start learning essentials program or get started with machine learning essentials, right, I'd like to know from you all guys, like from which part of the country you guys are joining, and what is that you are expecting out of this course, right? Like today we are going to have one lecture, tomorrow we are going to have yet another lecture, the same timing. So what are your expectations, like you want to learn in machine learning, and what is that you want to become after this program? So right, so I'll wait for a couple of seconds to see your responses in the chat, and then I'll explain you how you can, as a student, successfully complete the essential programs and get your certificate. Then we can move ahead with the learning part, and I'll introduce Satyam Tripathi, and I'll be handing over the session to him. So I see a lot of responses: Punjab, Nashik, Assam, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. Okay. Hi Vivek, good evening, good evening. So Virendra is just smiling. Okay. So let me just, meanwhile, you guys are responding in the chat, right? I'll just share my screen so that we can get started and I can explain you how you can register for the program if you have not done, and where all to see the links, basically, where a certificate, how to put your attendance and everything, right? So let's just get started. Let me just add the screen. Yeah, so basically these are the 5 steps which you have to, as a student, follow end to end to make sure that you are completing your program successfully and getting the certificate at the end of the program, right? So let's quickly go through uh, the steps. That is, first of all, like you guys are directly joining on YouTube, right? So if you have not registered yet, please go and register. The link you can see in the description. So let me just quickly explain you where to see the links. So this is what basically you are seeing right now on the YouTube screen, right? Just scroll down in the description section and let me explain you very quickly. If you guys have not registered yet for the program, registration is very mandatory. Go ahead on this link, which you can see, right? I'll also put them in the chat and pin. So okay, so let me just pin it real quick. Yeah, so that is the pinned message, right? Just go and register if you have not registered yet, and make sure that you are using the same email ID for ongoing all the lectures, like today and tomorrow, and using the same email ID in your attendance, as well as the same email ID will be eligible for the exam, and you'll be getting the certificate on the same email ID. So make sure you are entering your details correctly. So that was one link, that is register. It is very important, as I mentioned, right? Register for the program if you have not already, right? That is very important. Second thing, as I mentioned, right, you have to attend the class daily for 2 days, like today and tomorrow, same timing your lectures are going to be. Make sure to attend the session live. Now when you're attending the session, right, every video, right, like today's video is having the attendance link right here, here, right? This is the attendance link. You have to just open it and fill the attendance. Okay, make sure you're filling this attendance, because it is again mandatory for you to guys to record your attendance to be eligible for the exam, right? So to summarize, like what we have learned till yet, like first of all, registration is very important. Second, you have to attend the class daily for 2 days. Now third thing, right, if you have attended the class for 2 days, you will be eligible for a small, you can say, a MCQ exam, which will have 15 questions. 20 minutes you'll be getting after just clear, and it will be just basics which you have learned in these 2 days. And once you clear, right, by next Wednesday or something, you'll be seeing your certificates in your mailbox, and also on the LetsUpgrade website, which I'll be taking you to a tour of very quickly. Now, if you pass the exam, right, the certificate, as I mentioned, right, will be available in the portal as well. I'll show you where the portal is and where to see your certificates and how your exams are going to look like and everything. And the last thing, right, you need 200 LU coins to download your certificate soft copy for the program, and that's just one time you have to use 200 LU coins, and after that you can download it n number of times. Now, what is LU coins, how to earn LU coins, I'll explain you when we go to the tour of the website. I hope that I am clear till now. I hope that I am clear till now. The site can't be reached. Let me just check. which link are you trying? Let me just also, it is working fine for me. It is working fine for me. So this is how your website is going to look. You just have to go and enroll. So I like this. So once you enroll, right, if you see, right, you will get a WhatsApp message also, and you will be enrolled in the program. And the program should now be available in your My Program section right here. Okay, so now as I mentioned, once you are enrolled into the program and you get eligible for the exam, you will see one. You will also get a mail, and you will get get a WhatsApp notification that yes, you are eligible for the exam, and the exam should be visible in this My Exam sections. You just have to go and attend the exam. MCQ questions, 15 MCQs, 20 minutes. You have to just go and attend the exam. Now if you complete and score 40% and above, okay, so 40% is mandatory to clear the exam, okay. And once you do, right, once you complete, after like next Wednesday or something, you will get your certificates in this My Certificate section, like this, for example. Right now, next step, if you want to download a certificate, you have to just click on download, and it is going to download. Now I have already, I guess, used this, so it's not asking me again for the LU coins, but you will see an unlock option here. This is the new, I've already downloaded this, but you will see an unlock option here, and this is how it will look. You will need 200 LU coins. Now talking about what is LU coins, you can see the section here, that is it's basically Let's Upgrade currency. And how you can earn this currency is by enrolling into as many programs as you can, referring your friends to your program, which you can go from here. There's a refer and earn board, and for every referral, right, you climb up the leaderboard, and every top member in the leaderboard every month gets some amazing prizes. If you have to just see the leaderboard, right, first of all, to give your referral link, just click on the share invite link. The link will be copied, and all you need to go is send that link to your friend, your college groups, or whatever groups you're part of. Right, it's that simple. Now moving on to ahead to the leaderboard option, you will see all the leaderboard activity here. So as many students as you send and get to enroll for free in this program, you will start climbing up the leaderboard. Currently Shaul is leading the leaderboard for this month, and these are the prizes which you can see. Right, the first winner gets a smartwatch, and so on and so on. Right, so just to quickly summarize, this is how it's going to look like. Register for the program, attend the class daily for 2 days. You will be eligible for a small exam. Complete that, use 200 LU coins, and download your certificates. Refer your friends, earn as many as LU coins as you can. Using that LU coins also, right, you can actually get discounts on our premium paid programs, which offer 100% placement guarantee as well. Right, you cannot get quickly. The only option to get it quickly is to, maybe if you're a part of a college group, right, and where there are so many students, you can just share your invite link there, so that as many students as like refer. Right, I'll just quickly show how it's going to look like for you, and you know that yes, somebody has used the referral link. Go to your reward section, right, you're going to see scratch cards. Now suppose I have this scratch card, right. Now this is just because I have enrolled into some program. But when someone refers you, right, you see something like this: earned for referring Kirtana Bilam in tableau 0 to 0. Right, so this is how it's going to look like when you refer a student to this program. Right, so now moving, I hope everything is clear. Go and register if not done already. And let me just introduce Satyam Tripathi, sir. Hi sir, can you hear me?
Hello, yeah. Hello, Prasad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you sir. How are you?
Yes, I am also good.
Great, great. So, sir, we have all the students all prepped up for you, and I'll just hand over the session to you. So, all the best, guys. I hope to see you all at the end of the session, getting your certificates and starting a journey in the world of machine learning. Over to you, Satyam, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, hello, each and everyone. So, today we are just going to learn about machine learning, and this session is basically divided into two parts. The day one, we are just going to discuss about the theory part. We are not going to just discuss about the working of the algorithms, but we are also going to discuss about what are the techniques inside of machine learning. Whenever you are performing, whenever you are training a model, or whenever you are performing a model fitting. Okay, so at that time there are various techniques inside of machine learning. Okay, so basically we need to follow that, like removing of the outliers, and what is the skewness, the EDA part, and the pre-processing terms. All right, and the similarity, the this cosine similarity is there, and the correlation terms, and there are many more techniques that we are going to discuss in today's class. Okay, so yeah, hello, good evening, everyone. Hello, good evening, Ravi. So, guys, first of all, I just basically wanted to know that from which background you all are from. Like, are you doing some kind of a CS in bachelor's, or are you from a technical background, or are you from a non-technical background? Are you having some kind of a knowledge of related to machine learning or what? That I basically wanted to know. Yeah. So Yash is doing MCA, BSc Computer Science. Okay. Shubdeep and Rinku is there. He is a student from Commerce, and Mantu is there. EC. Okay. CS third year. Yeah. Engineering, BSc. Most of the peoples, I can say, yeah. Most of the peoples are from, I can say, a BTech background only. BTech mechanical. Okay. Basically, I am also a student from a mechanical background only. Okay. I made a switch in a IT as a data scientist. So yeah. So guys, doesn't matter if you are from a technical background or if you are from a non-technical background. All right. So you can basically crack any kind of a job inside a data science, whether you are working as a machine learning engineer, whether you are working as a deep learning engineer, whether you are working as a computer vision engineer, whether you are working as a natural language processing engineer. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, most of the students, I can say, some are from technical background, some are from non-technical. So yeah, this is totally okay. So guys, I can say okay. I can say we can start the session. So let me just share my screen. I hope each and everyone are able to see my this blackboard. Yeah, is it visible to all? Okay, visible, right? Okay. So guys, okay, thank you guys for the confirmation. So guys, before starting, let me just I think there is some kind of okay, just a second guys. uh, Let me just off my camera. Okay, I think there is some kind of a internet issue from my end, so I will be offing my camera. So guys, first of all, whenever we are learning about a machine learning, okay, because just see, we all are here, you all are here just for a, I can say, a job. Okay, you are learning these new techniques like a machine learning, deep learning, or something else. Okay, so basically we all are doing these things so we can earn something from these technologies, right? So if you are from a non-technical background or anything, you do not have to worry about these things, because if I just talk about a data science, all right, you basically need to know how your machine learning algorithms are working. Okay, there is not that much coding inside our data science like our developer basically used to do. Okay, we are even going to discuss about the job roles that you can basically get inside our data science. Okay, yeah, the session is started. So we are even going to discuss about what kind of a job role you can get inside our industry. Okay, and what kind of a work you will be able to get at that time. Like if you are appointed as a machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer, or anything, what kind of a work you have to do, what level of coding you have to do at that time. We are basically going to understand all of these things. Okay, so what is not visible? Math 3. Okay, so guys, let us just start with the machine learning concept. If we are just talking about a machine learning, there are multiple things, because this is the day one. In the day one, we are just going to discuss about the theory part. Okay, the different techniques inside a machine learning. Okay, now after this, let me just discuss about some of the machine learning terms. Okay, what are the different types of machine learning? Okay, So inside machine learning, we basically have lot of different ways, like a supervised and unsupervised and all the things. Okay, so basically most of the students get confused when they have to use a regression one and when they have to use a classification one. Okay, and what is the supervised and unsupervised? Because if you are going for an interview, this is the first question that the interviewer will going to pick up. Okay, he will be asking you, just tell me the different types of machine learning. Okay, so we are going to discuss that only over here. So let me just type types. Okay, so what are the different types inside your machine learning? Let us just try to discuss this thing only. The first one is going to be supervised learning. Okay, yeah, okay, I think it is already Zoom. Just a second, guys. I think Zoom option is not available in this board. But guys, is it visible? The screen is visible. Okay, so okay, guys. Okay, so first one is the supervised learning. The second one is going to be unsupervised learning. We are going to discuss about each and every one. And the third one is going to be your semi supervised. Most of the people says that we do not use semi supervised as that much, so you basically have to learn supervised and the unsupervised. So no guys, in the industry we even use the semi supervised technique, and I will be discussing you that where we are basically using this semi supervised techniques, right? The fourth one is going to be your online and batch learning. Okay, the fifth one is basically going to be your reinforcement learning. Okay, okay guys, so let us just discuss about these terms only. What is this supervised learning, what is this unsupervised learning, and all the things. Okay, so whenever I am telling about a supervised learning, that basically represent that you have some kind of a data that is already present and there is a label. Okay, now what do I mean by these labels and all the things? Whenever I'm telling a supervised learning, a data should be there, and suppose if there are some columns x1, x2, x3 and x4. Okay, let us just let us just consider a business problem first of all. Okay, we are also going to discuss about a life cycle of a data scientist, because if you basically want to become a data scientist, okay, you should be aware about what is the life cycle of a data scientist. Okay, because this is also the interview's question that interviewer may going to ask you at that time. Okay, so if you, let us just understand first of all a business problem. So whenever I'm saying a business problem, let us just discuss this thing. Suppose there is a company, okay, and the company is there are a lot of clients in the company. Okay, like I can say some company like an insurance company. Okay, there is an insurance company. Okay, and 80% of the pupils each and every year, okay, basically are not leaving the company, but 20% of the pupils are leaving the company. Okay, 80% of the peoples every year are not leaving the company, but 20% of the peoples are leaving the company. Now what might be the reasons? Okay, that these 20% of the peoples are leaving the company. What if what if I will be able to predict those peoples who are going to leave the company? Okay, can I say company is earning, I can say 80 million from these 80% of employees, the 80% of customers that they are having, and from this 20%, the peoples who are leaving, they are basically, I can say, they are giving some kind 5% of the loss to the company. Okay, so what if I will be able to save this 5% loss for my company? Okay, it will be more beneficial for my company if I will be able to know the reasons why these peoples are leaving the company, or and at that time I will be able to save my 5% of the money over here, 5% of the profit. Okay, now just see, if I will be able to build a machine learning model, if I am passing, I can say 100 million of rows to my model, I am passing 100 million rows to my model, and after that it will be predicting, I can say, 20 to 50k of peoples who are going to leave the company. If I will be able to know the name of these peoples, what I can do at that time? Can I say, if my company is an insurance company, I can provide them some extra discount, some coupons, some vouchers, if I will be able to know these peoples, right? Just see how much benefit I will be creating at that time for the company. Are you able to get these things, guys? So this problem is basically called churn prediction. Okay, this problem is basically called churn prediction, where we will be predicting the peoples who are going to leave the company. Okay, so suppose, so in this case I basically have some features in this 20% of peoples. Like what kind of features I will be having? X1, X2, X3, X4, Y. Now this might be the employee ID. Okay, as we all know, ID will be containing the unique values only. The X2 can be the earning of the person. Okay, this might be the earning. Yeah, yeah, Pratibhi. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Yeah, we basically need to know what are the exact reason why they are leaving the company. This is the business problem, because machine learning is not about just fitting your machine learning model on a Titanic data set, whether the people are going to survive or not. Are you going to explain this example in the interview? For sure, interviewer will not going to consider you at that time. Interviewer is basically looking for a person who have solved some kind of a real life problem, because in the day 2 we are going to do a end-to-end project in machine learning. Even at that project you can even add inside your resume. Okay, a real life end-to-end project we are going to do into machine. We will be using many different techniques inside a machine learning. Okay, okay, so the second column might be the earning, the third column might be the merit status. Okay, this might be the merit status, and this might be the maybe a savings or something else, this fourth column. And the Y column, okay, this basically telling us whether the person is going to leave the company. One basically means that the person is not going to leave the company. Zero basically means that the person is going to leave the company. Okay, so if you already have some kind of a data and you are just going to feed that data to your machine learning model, okay, so at that time we are going to use a supervised learning. This is a I can say a high end example that I have just given you. If I will just consider some other example, okay, if there is a dog image, okay, and this is my independent variable, this is my dependent variable, one basically represent that is a dog. If there is some kind of a feature of the cat, we have represented this is a cat. So this is nothing but this is a label data set. Okay, if there is a human, okay, so I have represented it as 2. Okay, so this is the data set that I am going to feed to my machine learning model. Okay, so this was the example that I have just given you over here with respect to the churn prediction. Now let me just give you one more real life example. Now just tell me one thing, have you guys heard about Lipton green tea? Have you heard about Lipton green tea, guys? Yes or no? Yes, okay. So okay guys, so Lipton green tea, okay, what happened inside a Lipton green tea, let me just give you an example. They basically came up with a requirement. Okay, they basically came up with a requirement that how much tea do we need to produce for generating a Lipton green tea. Okay, for the sufficient Lipton green tea, we even do not want to produce a more tea, we even do not want to produce less tea. It will be like approximately equal, because as I can say, there are two seasons like summer and the winter. So people's there are some data set according to the Lipton green tea company. Okay, so they will be providing us that, and they are basically asking to build a model which will be able to tell me that what amount of tea I basically need to produce according to the use of their product by the customers. Like in the summer, okay, I can say maybe in the winter people are consuming more Lipton green tea, and as in the summer people are consuming less Lipton green tea. So if people are basically consuming more green tea, so at that time we basically need to produce more tea, because at the end you are basically making a green tea with the help of tea only. So for the first product you basically need a tea at that time. Okay, so this is the scenario that they have asked to build. Okay, so at that time we was also having some kind of a features, okay, and dependent features. Okay, my target column over here, we was having some kind of a quantity that in this month people are consuming this much of green tea, in this month people are consuming this much of green tea. Okay, so this is basically one of the example of a supervised learning. Okay, now let me just rub this thing, and let me just discuss about some of the algorithms inside my supervised learning. Okay, what are the algorithms and which one we have to use at what time? So this is basically your supervised learning. So in supervised learning, I basically have, the first one is going to be linear regression. Okay, the second one is going to be logistic regression. Okay, the third one is going to be your k nearest neighbor. Okay, the fourth one is basically going to be your SVM, that is nothing but a support vector machine. The fifth one is basically going to be your decision tree. The sixth one is going to be your random forest. The seventh one is basically going to be your extra tree. The eighth one is basically going to be your boosting. Ada boost. Then this is going to be your gradient boosting. This is going to be your extreme gradient boosting. The 11th one is going to be your light GBM. Okay. The 12th one is going to be cat boost. Okay. Now, these are basically our algorithms inside a supervised learning. Okay, for sure we are not going to discuss about the working of these algorithms because it will be taking a lot of time and it will be very work on a Jupyter, Virendra. Yeah. And one more thing, guys. Whenever we are working with a supervised method, okay, so there will be two types. The first one is going to be regression. The second one is going to be classification. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the supervised technique is going to be divided into two parts. The first one is going to be regression. The second one is going to be classification. Now, what do I mean by a regression? When I have a y label, okay. Yeah, now it is working. Okay, I know there was some kind of a net issue, so I basically took a pause at that time. Okay, so till here we have started. So I'm just over here explaining the supervised learning is basically of two types, the regression and the classification. The y is basically, in this regression, my dependent variable is going to be like this. It will be in a continuous way. I can say if you basically need to predict the age, okay, or maybe I can say a salary, or maybe I can say sales. If you basically need to predict these things at that time, you basically need to use the regression part. And what is the classification? I already told you, whether if the customer is going to leave the company or he is going to stay in the company. At that time, we are going to use this classification purpose. And let me just use the second one. I can even say whether the student is going to pass in the exam or whether he is going to fail in the exam. At that time, I can say we can use the classification at that time also. Okay, this is maybe a churn prediction, okay, that we can basically use. And let me say if I'm just classifying a dog or maybe a cat, at that time I can use a classification purpose. Okay, and the third example that I can give, whether our customer is going to buy a product or not, where one is representing the customer is going to buy the product and the zero basically represent the customer will not buy the product. Okay, this is basically a regression and classification, and these are my algorithms inside a machine learning. So linear regression is basically we are fitting our best fit line. Okay, and for the regression purpose we basically have to use a linear regression. If I just say about a logistic regression, we basically use this thing inside a classification. Okay, so in so in classification we are just classifying these things, whether it is a dog or a cat, whether a person is going to buy a product, whether a person is going to leave the company, or whether the person is going to stay in the company. So these are the list of some of the most popular algorithms inside a machine learning. Okay, that we are going to discuss. So these are the algorithms that you should be aware about, because in today's class we are not going to discuss about these things, but yeah, we are also going to discuss about the working of these things a little bit, and we are more focusing on the different techniques of machine learning. Okay, if you are basically applying a data set on some kind of a machine learning model, and if it is not giving you a good accuracy, so what you have to do at that time. Okay. So Omkar, regression is basically when you have a data set, a labeled data set. Okay, you basically have some independent features. Independent features means this x1, x2, x3 means x3 is not dependent on x2, x1 is not dependent on x2, x1 is not dependent on x3, x3 is not dependent on xy. But if I have a y column, okay, y is basically depending on all of these things. Y is depending on x3, y is depending on x2, y is depending on x1 also. Okay, so if I'm just telling about a regression, okay, I can say if you want to predict a company sales, so the company sales cannot be in a classification purpose like a 0 or 1. 0 basically means that sales is going to reduce, 1 basically means the sales is going to increase. But if the sales is increasing or reducing, at that time you should know, like, what is the amount of sales at that time, if it is even increasing, if it is even reducing. Okay, but by what amount? Okay, so you will be having a value in continuous purpose. At that time you will be using a regression. I hope you are clear, Omkar. Okay, now, so these are the basically some of the algorithms inside my machine learning: linear regression, logistic regression, k nearest neighbor, svm. Okay, till here I can say these algorithms are little bit hard coded algorithms. Now what do I mean by hard coded algorithms? Just see this thing. I'm also going to tell you. Okay, just tell me one thing, guys. Are you aware about overfitting or underfitting? Because I know most of the people who have joined this class, they are already little bit aware about machine learning. Okay, this is not the first time that you heard about. Okay, Tejas is saying no. We will be explaining you all these things. So overfitting and underfitting is some situation, but yeah, some of the people are saying yes, like Gaurav is saying, and most of the people are saying no. Okay, so do not worry, we are going to discuss these things also. So while, okay, most of the people are saying no, doesn't matter, guys. These are the algorithms. I hope you are little bit aware about the working of these algorithms. Yes or no, guys? Yeah, Gaurav is saying yes. Okay, no, yes. Okay, Ravi is saying no. Nikhil is saying no. Okay, Mahesh is saying some of them. Okay, Shubham is saying yes, and Suresh is saying yes. Okay, so 50% people know about this, 50% people do not know about this. If you basically need to, if you basically wanted to know, to understand the working of these algorithms, I basically suggest you to join Let's Upgrade at that time. Or if you basically doing a self study or something, at that time you can basically do a research on Google's or something else. Okay, so you will be able to know the working of these things. So till here, till SVM, I can say these are some hard coded algorithms. If I just talk about a linear regression, what my linear regression is basically doing, okay, it is just going to plot, it is just going to plot my data points, okay, and it is just going to draw best fit line at that time, okay, and after that it is just going to calculate the error. This is what linear regression is going to do. Now you all are able to see these points like this because these points are linear. But what if my points are over here? What if my points are over here? I'm basically telling it that my points are not linear. What best fit line it is going to draw? Okay, it will be not able to draw this line. So this is basically a hard coded algorithm. If my data points are not here, okay, so my model will not able to predict these things. So this is basically be a underfitting scenario. We are going to discuss about underfitting and overfitting. Do not worry about these things, guys. Okay, now if I just talk about this decision tree, random forest, extra tree, ADA boost, gradient descent, XGB, and light gradient boosting, and cat boost. Okay, so these are the algorithms. If your data is not even linear, these algorithms are going to perform well as compared to these algorithms. Okay, now so this was about the supervised learning. We basically have two types, regression and classification. And let us just discuss about this one, a supervised learning. What is a supervised learning? Till now, we have discussed about like this. I have a label like for a regression, or it might be for a classification purpose as well. Okay. Classification is going to be like this. Like this. This is basically for my classification. Okay. Now, so what if I only have my independent features? Because this is my dependent features. We have discussed about what is dependent and what is independent. Okay, this is my dependent features. So if I do not have this column and I want to predict how many labels, how many points are there, like in this classification, whether they are 3 points, like the one is going to say that peoples are not going to leave the company, the zero is basically going to say the peoples are going to leave the company, and there will be one more term, neutral. That basically means that my model is even confused. Okay, he is not able to decide whether the peoples are going to leave the company or whether the peoples are not going to leave the company. What if I do not have this column? What I'm going to do at that time? In that case, unsupervised learning came into a picture. Okay, so what we are doing with respect to this thing, unsupervised learning, let me just discuss this thing also. Okay, because we in okay, yeah, I will be sharing the notes and all, do not worry about this thing. So whenever I am saying unsupervised learning, okay, just try to understand. I have this data set, x1, x2, x3, x4. I do not have y column, and in this time I basically need to predict my y. Okay, I need to predict y after. Now let me just first of all tell you this thing. So these my data points are going to be my unsupervised learning. okay, is basically going to plot these data points over here. Okay, these are nothing but my data points. Okay, now you can see that there are 4 clusters. We basically call them a cluster. Okay, there are 4 clusters that are forming. The first one is going to be this one, the second one is going to be this one, the third one is going to be this one, the fourth one is going to be this one. So I can say in my data that basically I have this one. Okay, I basically have 4 labels. Now how basically I have 4 labels? I can say this is going to be 0, this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, this is going to be your 3. So 4 points I basically have. This is basically a classification problem. Okay, now after applying this clustering operation or a unsupervised learning, okay, I will be able to get this columns. Okay, this column I will be able to get, where I can say these data points are belonging to the 0 1, these data points are belonging to the first one, these data points are belonging to the second one, these data points are belonging to the third data point. Okay, we basically do some kind of a calculation inside these things. I can say with respect to the density, we basically measure these things. With respect to the distance, we basically calculate these things. Okay, so you basically in today's class you basically do not have to worry about the working of these things, because we are going to understand about some of the techniques inside a machine learning. So this is basically my unsupervised learning at that time. Okay, now we have discussed about supervised learning. Okay, where I will be having a labels like this and I'm training my model on this thing, right? And after this thing we have discussed about unsupervised learning, where I am not having a labels. Okay, I am not having a labels, I am predicting this column. Now after predicting this column, my dependent column, after this I can perform a classification problem on this thing. But previously I wasn't even having this column. Okay, so how do I even supposed to perform a supervised technique? Okay, so unsupervised is basically going to give me this y column. At that time I will be predicting these things with respect to the supervised learning. Okay, so I hope everyone, each and everyone are clear about what is supervised and unsupervised. Because just see guys, in supervised we are having a label like this, and in unsupervised we are not having a label like this. Okay, I hope each and everyone is clear about this thing guys. Can I get a confirmation? Okay, they just is saying yes. Okay, 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 good. Shashank is saying Mahesh, Priyanshu is saying Yash. Okay, okay, good guys. So now let us just came with semi-supervised. Okay, let us just discuss these things a little bit more fast, because we need to cover a lot of things in 2 days. Because in tomorrow class, I will be only showing you a end-to-end project. Okay, and you, if you even want, I can even provide you some of the resources. Okay, so I will be giving you a demo, or I can say I will be explaining you a end-to-end machine learning project that you can even mention inside your resume. And we are going to even discuss about a good techniques with respect to machine learning that we are even using inside our industry. Okay, now what is semi-supervised? We have understood about the supervised learning, where we are having a labels. In unsupervised learning we are not having a label. In semi-supervised learning, what is basically semi-supervised learning? Just see guys, if you have 100 million of records, okay, and you do not have labeled data at that time. Okay, you do not have labeled data at that time, and what you are doing, so suppose you have a labeling team inside your company, inside your industry. Okay, what they are doing, their job is basically to do the labeling. Okay, suppose I am having some kind of feature like this one, x1, x2, x3, and x4, and my labeling team is basically labeling all of this, whether it is like 1 or whether it is 0, or if it is a regression problem, like what amount it should be. Okay, so just see this thing. For a semi-supervised learning, if you have 100 million of rows, it is not possible for you to label each and every row. Just let us say you are able to label 1k or 10k rows, right? You are able to do the labeling for 1k rows or 10k rows. So this 100 million labeling for this 100 million rows is not possible. So you are able to do the labeling for 1k or 10k rows, and you are just feeding this data to your model. There are some models, okay, there are some AI models that will be able to understand with this much of data, that you are just feeding them this amount of data, and they will be able to predict the rest of this data that is left, rest of the rows that are left from this 100 million records. Okay, they will be able to classify these things correctly. Okay, if I will just give you an example, that is going to be bird, and again, these are models that are also called single shot model. Now, what do I mean by single shot model? That is nothing but in some when I will be only providing some rows to my model, and it will be able to understand my data set, and it will be predicting all these data points correctly. This is what semi-supervised learning is. Now, let us just discuss about online and batch learning, because these are the different technique, guys. Okay, now let us just discuss. Let me just rub this board only. Okay, now we are just going to understand what is batch learning, batch and online learning. Guys, just see, whenever I was just talking about a batch, this supervised learning, so what we was doing, we are preparing some kind of a data like this data we are preparing, and we are just feeding this data to my machine learning model, and it will be just giving me an output over here. Till now, this is the thing that we are doing. After that, I was able to get a model. Okay, now what I am doing over here, I am just passing new records, and I am just getting prediction. I have only trained this model for the single time. Okay, I have just trained this model for the single time. Now, after training these things, it is giving me a good accuracy, it is giving me a good performance matrices. So after this thing, what I have did, I am just passing my test data, all of my test data, and what it is doing, it is just going to predict these things, my new records. Okay, but what if in future my data is changing? What I have to do at that time? I again have to prepare this new data, and I again have to train my model. This is my batch learning. Just see, because I can say in the COVID, okay, if I will just consider a price of a second-hand cars, okay, so the price basically have changed a lot as compared to the before lockdown. Okay, so there are some models on the internet, there are some sites, okay, which are basically providing you the second hand price of your car, the exact value. So at that time, they basically have to train their model with respect to the cars again, because after in the lockdown, all the prices of each and every product have changed. Okay, so what I have to do, if my data is changing, I again have to create a new model and I again have to train it. And if my data is huge, my model is going to take, I can say, 1 whole day for training the machine learning model, guys. It is just going to take a 1 whole day. And what else? It is also going to take a lot of computation power of mine. Okay. Now, what is online learning? This is my batch learning, where I am preparing some of my data set and I'm just sending this to my model. Now, what is online learning over here? Suppose you basically have some kind of a data. You send it to your model. Okay. Now it is doing a prediction. But if you even have a new data set that is coming on which you are doing a prediction, what if you are even you at this time you are even able to train your model with this new data set without doing all this pre-processing that we have did over here? So the output that you will be able to get over here, okay, this will be based on the present data that you are passing to your model. Now the example can be, I can say, time series. Okay, because with respect to the time series, you have to predict the future values at it. Stock prices. Okay, you basically need to predict whether the stock is going to increase or whether it is going to reduce, right? So this is the thing that you are going to do in batch and online learning. Are you able to get this thing, guys? Is it clear to all, guys? Okay, so now this was my online learning. Now what is reinforcement learning? Once again, Tejas is saying once again. Okay, what is batch learning and online learning? We was discussing about this thing. So batch learning is something that you have this data set, right? X1, X2, X3, X4. Okay, just a second. Okay, so at this time I was telling you that if you have this data set, okay, if we have this data set like this x1, x2, x3, x4 and y, and you are doing all this pre-processing. Suppose you are not having a label data set, you are basically doing some kind of a pre-processing over here and you are just feeding this to the model. Okay, after you will be able to train your model, you will be doing a prediction over there whenever you are sending a new data to it, because this is why we have trained a machine learning model. So in future, if you are passing some data set to it, it will be automatically giving you a result. This is why we are training a machine learning model. Okay, now if the data is changing as per the time, you basically have to change your data set. You have to do all this pre-processing and again you have to train your model. After that, you will be deploying your model. After that, you are just sending a new data set and again it will be giving you the prediction, the same. Okay, now batch and online learning. So this was basically my batch learning that I have explained you over here. Now what is online learning? Online learning is something that I have some kind of a data set, I have trained my model on it. Okay, and if the new data is coming, okay, my model is even getting trained on that data set and it will be giving me a prediction on the basis of new data set. This is what we are doing over here, guys. Okay, I hope each and everyone is clear about this thing, because in interview the interviewer may ask you about these things. Okay, what is online learning, batch learning, semi-supervised, supervised, and unsupervised? So you should know what are these techniques and how they are working internally. Now a reinforcement learning, guys. Okay, yeah, okay, Mahesh, Gaurav, okay. So guys, what is reinforcement learning? I can say reinforcement learning was a game changer. Okay, this because in the industry we are only using supervised learning, semi supervised, unsupervised learning, okay, and the batch learning, online learning, all the things. But what is this reinforcement learning? Guys, reinforcement learning is a completely different learning. Okay, it is not like this thing that you have some kind of a data set, you have trained your model on it, right, and you are just doing a prediction. Reinforcement learning is something that will be learning from its own mistake. I hope each and every one of you have played PUBG or this Counter Strike. How many of you have played this thing, the PUBG and the Counter Strike? Yes or no, guys? Okay. Now, what if I will be able to tell you, okay, okay, Mahesh. So, what if, guys, I will just tell you that if, with respect to, I can say, neither this supervised learning, neither this unsupervised learning, semi-supervised and online learning can able to automate your PUBG. If there is some technique with respect to that, okay. So, what if I will be able to apply some kind of a AI on PUBG or Counter Strike? Okay, so it will be winning all the game. Okay, it will be learning from its own mistake. It will be firing to the enemies. It will be getting prone, and it will be like surviving. It will be driving car and all the things. Yes, Nitu, you can ask me. Okay, so at that time, we will be using a reinforcement learning. Okay, reinforcement learning is something that is learning from its own mistake, and it is applying that mistake, so in future it will be not repeating that mistakes. No, I'm not talking about hack is completely different thing. I'm just talking about I can say let us just take an example of a chessboard. Okay, so if you are able to train a computer, okay, so it will be performing, I can say it will be performing each and every time it will be winning the game. Okay, like let's suppose I have built a algorithm on the chessboard. Okay, for the first time I'm playing, okay, I will be able to beat my algorithm. Okay, I will be able to beat a algorithm at that time, and I was able to win that game. But the steps that I have taken in that game, my model is going to recognize that thing. Okay, my model is going to learn that how I played in that previous game, so in the next game it will be not repeating that mistake. Okay, so this is how it is learning. We are just going to discuss about these things, that how this reinforcement learning is working. Okay, yeah, so let us just discuss about the reinforcement learning, guys. Hmm. Reinforcement learning. Okay, yeah, Shubham, you can say basically this thing also. So this is basically some kind of a algorithm that we are building, so it will basically do not repeat its own mistake. Okay, this is what. So let us just discuss about reinforcement learning. So example, I basically have to I basically have given this example only, like a PUBG or a Counter Strike. So now, yeah, just give me a second. Yeah, so whether for surviving a game, like I can say a chess, what you basically have to do, there are some predefined steps that you basically have to take inside a chess, whether it is a horse, whether it is an elephant or something. Okay, so now, so there are some things inside your reinforcement learning. Okay, so the things are going to be like in this way. A agent should be there. They have defined reinforcement learning in this way. Okay, this course is basically free. Okay, but we in Let's Upgrade. Okay, we basically have a full stack data science program. Okay, where we'll be providing you where we'll be providing a good curriculum that is based on a real life industry. Okay, we will be providing you the knowledge of each and every library inside our data science, like whether it is a NumPy, whether it is a Pandas, whether it is a TensorFlow, Keras, NLTK, Scikit-learn that we are using inside our industry. Okay, so you will be able to crack these jobs at that time. Okay, so this course is basically totally free. Yeah, Rinku. So there's a video on YouTube, and after that, what happened? I can say Microsoft basically, I think, brought that company. Okay, it was I think a Korean company, or I'm not. I really can't recall these things, but yeah, I have also watched that thing. Okay, so now let us just so in supervised learning, we basically have these algorithms, but in reinforcement learning, what we are having, like these are the supervised learning algorithms, and there are some algorithms also there in unsupervised learning. Let me just write that also for you. Okay, so let me just for the unsupervised one. Yeah, so let me just even write some of the algorithm for the unsupervised one, guys. Okay, so just a second. So yeah, unsupervised, we have some algorithms, like the first one is basically going to be your K means clustering. The second one is basically going to be your DB scan. The third one is basically going to be your hierarchical clustering. Okay, but this is our learning, online and batch learning, the algorithms that we have provided. Okay, Virendra, these are even the learnings that are available inside a market. So this is what I am explaining you. Okay, yeah, for sure, if you are going on an internet, you will be able to get supervised learning, semi super unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Most of the cases you are only going to get supervised learning and unsupervised learning. They will be even not showing you a semi supervised learning and reinforcement learning at that time. Okay, so this is how basically Nitu is saying, sir, please, my question is children crying without really having their mother taught them how to cry. The above sentence defined what type of learning? Okay. Basically, Nitu, I am not able to relate these things with machine learning or something. Okay. So, yeah, reinforcement is the one I can see. So, reinforcement learning. Let us just say this thing. Just a second, guys. Yeah. So there is something called agent inside a reinforcement learning. It is not like that we are defining a supervised learning like a linear regression, logistic regression, or something else. Okay. We have something called agent over here. Okay. And we have something called environment. Okay. Now, what is the agent? I can say agent is a person or a computer that is playing a game. Let us just consider a chessboard only. Okay. Let us just consider a chessboard only. Sir, once please explain again briefly. I don't know, sir. Okay, Praveen. We basically have started from a reinforcement learning. So in reinforcement learning is the something basically learns from its own mistake. Okay, it is basically a advanced one as compared to the supervised and the unsupervised. So in reinforcement learning is not like supervised this linear regression, logistic regression, or boosting or something, right? It basically define reinforcement learning. The researchers have defined reinforcement learning like a agent. There is a agent, there is an environment. Now what is the agent? Agent is basically a person who is playing that game. Okay. Now agent is the one who is playing the game. The environment is, I can say, the full chessboard that you are playing on. That is basically the environment. We are just discussing about basics of reinforcement learning, supervised learning, and all the things. After that we will be discussing about the techniques of machine learning. Okay. Now so there will be an agent, there will be an environment. Now agent is the one who is playing the game. Environment is the whole chessboard, or I can say the whole playground inside a PUBG or a CSGO. Okay. Now after this thing, we basically have something called action inside a reinforcement learning. Now what is basically a action? I can say if you basically playing a PUBG for surviving, either you have to kill or either you basically have to hide somewhere. So these are the actions that you are taking inside a PUBG or any kind of a game. Okay. Now so let's suppose okay, action is basically there. Now there is something also called as state. Now what is basically this state? Okay. This is nothing but a current condition returned by the environment, like how you are playing at this time. Agent is the person who is playing the game. Environment is the whole chessboard or the whole player ground inside a PUBG. Action is something like if you are killing someone, or if you are getting if you are hiding, if you are driving a car or something else. This is basically your action. Okay. State is basically nothing, the current condition. In the current condition that you are, whether you are firing, whether you are pruning, or whether you are doing something else. So that is basically going to be your state. Okay. Now there is something called reward. Very important thing, guys. Suppose in the action you are killing someone. Okay. So what you have done, you have basically survived that stage. So you got some kind of a positive reward, that the thing that you have did is a right thing for surviving, or because of what I basically want to do inside a reinforcement learning. Okay, there is a player inside a PUBG. My main goal is to win the game. Okay, I can say winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? So this is what I basically have to do. Whether it is a chess, okay, I basically have to win the game. Okay. Yeah, it is with the rest with the help of Python, you can basically implement reinforcement learning. Okay, but this is really a advanced thing, guys. Okay, this is really a advanced thing over here. So just a second, guys. So guys, what is reward? If you are killing someone, okay, if you are killing someone, or if you are getting hiding or something, and if you are just reaching to the top 10, you are basically not getting killed early. Okay, so these are some positive rewards. these are really some positive rewards that you are going to get for an agent. But if you are getting killed early, so you will be getting a negative reward at that time. That means the step that you have taken, that enemy, that you have not fired on enemy. Okay, so that was a negative reward. So this kind of a reward we basically have to take. Okay, now there is also something called policy. Okay, okay, so policy, yeah, policy is basically nothing, I can say, the strategy that the agent uses to find out the next step. Now what do I mean by this thing? I can say, after killing someone, what you are doing inside a PUBG, you are basically filling your health. This is what you are doing. Okay, so this is what your policy is, the next step that you are taking. Okay, now there is something called value and there is something called action value. Now just try to understand this thing, guys. Last thing I can say, and very important thing, the value and the action value, guys. That in value, okay, in value we are getting some kind of a probability for our rewards. Okay, now what are basically this thing? Let us just try to understand. Let us just say that your model is learning in a different way. Like your model is thinking that if I'm just doing, I can say, 10 to 15 kills, or if I'm performing this step inside a game, so I'm basically getting a more rewards. But there might be a negative thing also, like you might also get killed at that time. Okay, so if killing a person, okay, if suppose if there is a whole squad, right, if killing a whole squad is giving you a reward, okay, but it is also, okay, decreasing the chances to win the game, right? Because so there are different values and action values. Action values are nothing, the action that you are taking, you are getting some kind of a value on it. Now let us just say that I basically told you about the reward, that if you are performing one step, you are getting some kind of a reward, right? Now after this thing, there are rewards for many cases. Like suppose there are rewards for, I can say, a positive one and a negative one, but it doesn't always go in this way that you only have to take the positive step, the reward that you are getting from a positive step. I will be also taking the negative step, because I also have to consider the future over here. Like if I'm just going to kill the whole squad, okay, if I'm just playing a solo versus squad, or if I'm just playing a chess, and if I'm just taking a big steps, okay, so that positive step I do not have to take at that time. I will be taking a negative step, because I have to consider all the futures value as well. Suppose for the this for this particular one step, I will be getting a negative value, but in future I will be getting positive rewards. Suppose right now there is a positive rewards, but in future the value is going to be negative. So this is your value and action value inside a reinforcement learning. Okay, I hope each and everyone is clear about what is reinforcement learning. The main aim of this session is not to just memorize these steps: what is agent, what is environment, what is action, what is state, rewards, policy, value, and action value. The main aim of this session is basically to get little bit aware about what are the different types of machine learning and how they are working. I hope you guys are clear, right guys? Can I get a confirmation? Okay, so now this was a little bit intro about the machine learning. Okay, the supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and all the things. So now let us just discuss about something. Okay, the interviewer is even going to take an interest on these things. Okay, so let us just discuss about these things for now. Let us just say, guys, so I am telling that's a bit support. Okay, now if I just talk about a linear regression or anything, okay, if there is a linear regression, there is a term. Just tell me one thing, guys. Have you heard about gradient descent, or have you heard about loss function or a cost function? And let me just tell you a interview question. Interviewer is basically interviewer is basically going to ask you, what is the difference between loss function and cost function? This is the this is the question that the interviewer is basically going to ask you. Okay, guys, just please, it's a request, do not put some other messages in the chat. It is basically disturbing me, and I basically need to focus on all these things that I'm explaining to all of you, so you will be able to crack our interview. Okay, just okay. Okay, so linear regression, where am I this thing on? Okay, so this is the interview question that the interviewer may is going to ask you. So I can say, whenever we are saying a loss function is something that is going to compute for a single point, and cost function is something that is going to compute for the whole point. Okay, now there is something, okay guys, there is something called as gradient descent. Now what is the gradient descent? The same thing that we have discussed, the cost function and the loss function. Your gradient descent is going to look like this. I can say more half an hour or 45 minutes, Anurag. Okay, we will be discussing some more good techniques, guys, because till now we was just learning about the types of machine learning over here. Okay, now what is the basically a gradient descent? Let us just try to understand. Suppose you have a value. No, 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Okay, x1, x2, x3, x4, and this is y. Okay, now there is some value, and the y is basically 1. Suppose the customer or the basically a customer is not going to leave the company. 1 is basically representing this thing. Now you have trained your model, and you have predicted, suppose this line. Okay, that is basically inside your test data set, and it is giving you a y of 0, that the customer is going to leave the company. So can I say it is completely wrong? Okay, this is basically completely wrong. So suppose, so this is basically your loss, y predicted minus y original. Okay, so this is the loss is basically 100% over here. Okay, so suppose there is a point, this is your loss. Now your model need to learn. Okay, your model basically need to learn how to reach over here. This point is basically called as global minima. Okay, there is something also called as local minima and local maxima. Okay, this is maybe your global maxima, right? So you basically need to reach over here. So what you are going to do, you are just going to take a small steps that based on the learning rate that you are basically providing it, and it will be reaching over here, right? Now let us just see this thing. Okay, let us just see this thing, that this is your global maxima, this is your global minimum. Now suppose, let us just understand this thing in a this way. Suppose there is a mountain, this is your mountain. Okay, and you are over here, you are standing over here. Now for initially, I can say the slope is not that much steep, so you can take a little bit long step over here. But as you are reaching near to the mountain, you basically have to take small steps. Otherwise what is going to happen, you will be not able to reach over here. So these steps is basically called as a learning rate, that you are telling your model to learn in this much way. Because if you are choosing a, let me just drop this thing. Okay, this is your global gradient descent. If you are taking a large learning rate, your gradient is going to shoot like this, that your loss is just shooting like this only. It will never reach over here. Okay, but if you are just taking a small step, it will be moving in this way, and it will be reaching the global minimum. Now what is global minimum? Where my y value was actually 1 and my model has predicted it as 1. Okay, so this is my global minimum where my loss is minimum. So this is something called as gradient descent that we are using inside a machine learning. Okay, I hope you guys are clear about what is gradient descent. Okay, and let me just tell you one thing. In machine learning, we are using this gradient descent techniques in two algorithm only, that is going to be your linear regression and logistic regression. There are other techniques also, like decision tree, random forest, and all the things. We are not using this technique in that. There is some, because interviewer is going to pick up a lot of question from gradient descent. Okay, now what is the main question that came over here, that how you will know that you have reached over here? Okay, so if interviewer is basically asking you this thing, you can basically tell them that my loss was not reducing, I was getting a high loss. So there is something also called as, okay, yeah, loss function is something that we are calculating for the single point, and cost function is we are calculating this thing for the whole point. Okay, now, yeah, Vivek, I already told you the answer. So this is your global minimum. Now I already told you one term. This is in real life, your gradient descent is going to look like this. This is going to be your global minima, this is going to be your local minima. Local minima means this is the local one, because here over here your loss is, I can say, you are basically having a loss of 0%. Okay, but in local minima over here the loss is high, but your model is thinking that this is your global minimum. So you are not reaching over here. Okay, so for reaching over here, what basically happened over here, if you are taking a high learning rate, okay, high learning rate value, so you will be getting stuck over here. But if you are choosing a small learning rate value, you will be reaching with respect to the global minima only. Okay, I hope you guys are clear with respect to the gradient descent. What is gradient descent and why we are using this thing? Right, guys? Are you clear about gradient descent? Are you facing any kind of a issue? Okay, yeah. So there is some types with respect to the gradient descent. Okay, Omkar, Gaurav, Rinku. Okay, Rinku is again no issue. Okay. Now, what are the types of this thing? Batch gradient descent. The second one is going to be your stochastic gradient descent. The third one is going to be your mini batch gradient descent. Okay, now what are these things? Let us just try to understand. Okay, just a second, guys. Yeah, so these are basically, if I just talk about this batch gradient descent, right? Batch gradient descent is something that is going to take my, yeah, I will be providing you notes, Shashank, do not worry about these things. Maybe tomorrow class I will be providing the notes. So batch gradient descent is something, if I have 100 million of rows, so it will be taking all the 100 million rows and it will be computing the loss at the same time. Okay, but it was taking a I can say it was not able to reach to the global minima each and every time. Okay, researchers have introduced stochastic gradient descent. Now what is stochastic gradient descent over here? Yeah, next class I'm going to be the same time 7 to 9 only. Stochastic gradient descent. What is stochastic gradient descent? If you have 100 million of rows, it will be taking one row at a single time. Stochastic gradient descent, and it will be computing the loss. Over here you will be able to reach to the global minima for sure. But just see, if you are just computing the loss for each and every rows, for sure you will be doing a lot of computation. You will be using a lot of computation power at that time, right? So they have introduced a mini batch gradient descent. What they have said, previously you was taking whole data like 100 million rows at the same time, and the stochastic gradient descent, what you was doing, you was just taking a single rows at each and every time. But in mini batch gradient descent, what you can do, I can say you can take first of all I can say a 1k rows. After that you are just going to compute the loss over here. Okay, and you will be calculating the global minimum. So this is basically your types of gradient descent over here, guys. I hope you guys are clear about gradient descent and what are the types of gradient descent and when we can use which type of gradient descent. Is this thing clear to each and everyone? Now, let us just discuss about the important topic. Okay. Let us just discuss about the one more important topic that you have heard about this thing. Okay. Outliers. I told you we are just going to discuss about the machine learning points. Okay. Sorry, Rinku, what you are saying? Is it no profit, no loss? In okay, its point. It is no profit, no. Class time is basically going to be 7 to 9. We will be discussing tomorrow class end-to-end machine learning project, guys. Okay, so now just tell me one thing, guys. Have you heard about this word outlier? Have you heard about this word, guys? What is outlier? Just tell me yes or no. Anyone else? Never heard. Okay. Okay. Let me say I am doing a machine learning use case where there will be a age. Okay. So the age can be 18, 20, 21, 35, 40, 45. I can say 500 or I can say 1000. Okay. Now, okay. Now just tell me, what do you think, which one is the outlier over here? That should not belong to the age column. Just answer me this thing, guys. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 101 and the 501, sorry, this 1001 and the 501, because this cannot be a age. So can I say there will be some kind of a manually typing mistake? Okay, the data that I have received, okay, there was some manually typing mistakes. Maybe the person who was typing this age, okay, was basically writing 50 or maybe 100 over here, but by mistake they have added one more extra zero. So this is the outlier. What if you are just going to send this data to your machine learning model? It will be predicting the wrong points for you. Okay, yeah, Rajesh. The extreme data points that are present inside my data set is called outliers. Okay, now just see this thing, guys. So if I basically need to feed my this data to my model, I need to remove this outlier for sure. If I'm feeding this data set, at that time I can say my model is learning in a wrong way. Okay, now for removing these outliers, there are some techniques that we need to perform. Okay, so what are basically these techniques? Okay, that I am basically going to tell you. What are basically these techniques? Okay, yeah. Now let us just say I have these data points. Okay, we are just discussing about the outliers. So I have this data points. I can say 2 comma 2 comma 4 comma 5 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7 comma 8 comma 8 comma 9 comma 9 comma 10. This is the data points that I am having. Okay, now there is something called percentile. Okay, we basically need to determine the percentile, and before, if you basically need to understand this thing, in order to understand the outlier, you basically need to understand 5 number summary. Okay, now what is this thing? There is something called minimum. The second one is going to be your first quartile. The third one is basically going to be your median. I hope you are aware about the median mode and the mean, guys. Okay. Third quartile. The fifth is going to be maximum. Okay. Yeah. So I hope you are aware about this maximum, minimum, and the median. Okay, we are even going to understand. So if I basically just tell you that for removing the outliers, okay, I basically have given you an example of a age, the 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 70, 500, and the 1000. Okay, so the age, okay, the age, these are not only my outliers. The outliers can be 1, 2, 3. Can you say the data that you are having? I can say for an adult one, if someone is filling a age of 0, 1, or 2, this also be an outlier for me. It is not like always an extreme value, right? So these are also outliers for me. So what we are going to do, we are just going to calculate a percentile value, okay, and we will be removing the outlier on the basis of my percentile value. Okay, so now how do we calculate the percentile? Let us just say if I basically need to calculate the percentile of this 8. Okay, yeah, minus also, the negative ones also. Okay, so if I basically need to calculate the percentile value of 8, x is equal to 8. So what I am just going to do, so there is a formula called number of values below this data points divided by the total number of values that are present over here, multiplied by 100. So what are the values that are below this data points? Okay, let us just try to understand this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. I can say there are 8 values that are below this data points. And what are the total values? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 values are there, guys, multiplied by 100. So what answer I will be able to get? I can say 61 percentile. This value. If someone is asking you this thing in an interview, that what is the percentile of this one, so at that time you can basically calculate this thing with respect to this formula. Okay, now okay. Now this is my 61 percentile value. Now let us just discuss about this thing, guys. Just a second. Yeah, just a second, guys. Okay, just a second. Now for calculating these things, okay, for the outlier, we was able to calculate the percentile of this one, the 8. But what if I have this data point and I only want to calculate what is the percentile value of the 25% and the 75%? So how I am going to, no, Rinku, it's okay. Okay, so how basically I am going to calculate this percentile value? Okay, now let us just say you have this data points. Okay, 2 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7 comma 8 comma 8 comma 9 comma 9 comma 10. Now if someone is asking you, okay, just tell me what is the 25th what is the 25th percentile value of this thing. Okay, so the answer is basically going to be simple. Okay, you basically have to write the percentile value that you basically want to calculate over here. That is going to be 25% divided by 100 into n plus 1. N is basically nothing but these 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So these are nothing but 13. So I can say 25 divided by 100 multiplied by 13 plus 1 is going to be 14. The answer that basically you are going to get is somewhere around 3.5. 3.5 value is not there, but it might be there in future whenever you are doing a testing, because suppose this is your training data set. Okay, so I can say whichever value is less than 3.5, even this 3, this is below my 25 percentile. Okay, now let us just discuss how to remove the outliers. Okay, called IQR, that is nothing but interquartile range. That's why we have discussed this percentile value, because in quantile we are going to discuss about the percentile. Okay, now what is this IQR method? Okay, now for calculating this IQR method, you basically have to calculate two things. The first one is going to be your lower value, higher value. Your value should be between lower and higher value. Let us just say the age was 70 and there was some values like 500 and 1000, and let us say the lower value is like 12 years, and whatever value is less than 12 years, I will be considering that as my outlier. Okay, so these are my lower value and higher value that basically I have to calculate for removing the outliers. This is inside my interquartile range. Okay, so how I'm going to calculate a lower value? Lower value is basically going to be your Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR. This is the formula. Okay, higher value is going to be your Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR. Okay, this is the value that is going to be. Now what is Q1? This is nothing but the 25 percentile of this value. Q3 is nothing but a 75 percentile of this value. Okay, this is the first quartile and the third quartile. First quartile and the third quartile. What is this IQR? Let me just even mention this thing. Yeah, the value of 1.5 is not going to change. IQR is basically going to be your Q3 minus Q1. This is your IQR that is going to be. Okay. Now, so let us just do one thing for now. Let us just calculate the value of Q1 and Q3. Okay. Q1 is going to be 25 percentile. I want to calculate the same formula. Okay. Into, okay, all the values. Okay, let me just consider a new data point. Okay, this is not going to be my data. Let me just take some other values. So I can say my values is going to be 1 comma 2 comma 2 comma 2 comma 3 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 5 comma 6 comma 6 comma 6. Okay, comma 6 comma 7 comma 8 8 9 and 27. Now can anyone tell me what do you think, which one is the outlier over here? Okay, there was some internet issue, really sorry for that. Now I hope it is not lagging right now. So now can anyone tell me, what do you think, which one is the outlier over here, guys? Rinku is saying 27. Can I get more confirmation, guys? Guys, what do you think, which one is the outlier? Okay, people are saying 27. So we are just going to calculate the interquartile range. So over here, we basically need to calculate the n plus 1. So n is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so it is 18. So I am just multiplying this with 19. So let us just say what value I will be able to get. That is going to be 4.75. Now, similarly, let me just calculate the Q3. Okay, that is going to be 75 percentile. Okay, now if I'm just doing this calculation multiplied by 19, so this will be giving me a result of 14.25. This is basically my Q1 and Q3. Now I got the value of Q1 and Q3. I can say I right now after this thing I can calculate my lower value and the upper value. Okay, I can basically calculate my lower value and the upper value. So let us just say yeah, so lower value, that is basically going to be my 4.75 minus 1.5 into Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so this value is basically going to be your 9.5. Okay, if you are just going to do the sum of this thing, you will be able to get 9.5. Now, so if you are just going to calculate, you will be able to get a value of 9.5. Similarly, let me just calculate the higher value over here. So I have written the same Q3 minus Q1. Same thing I have written, Rinku. So the higher value is basically going to be 14.25, my Q3 value, minus 1.5 multiplied by 9.5. So it will be giving me a value of 28.5. Okay, now just see, guys, you were saying that 27 will be an outlier, but according to my IQR, this is my higher value, 28.5. That my range will be in minus 9.5 to 28.5. Okay, so this is the range, my lower range and upper range. If any value less than this or any value greater than this will be my outlier. Okay, now just tell me one thing, guys. What do you think? What will be the median of this data? What will be the medium of this data? These are totally 18 values. I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. These are 18 values. No, Rinku, just see. Your Q1 is going to be 4.75 and your Q3 is 14.25. It is not 14.75, it is 14.25. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9 and this one. So these are basically my medians. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 values are there, 8 values are there. If this was like 27 was not there, for sure 5 is going to be my median. Okay, yeah, right. So if I basically need to calculate the median, okay, so I can basically write 5 plus 6 divided by 2, that is going to be your 5.5. Okay, this is basically a median. Now let me just tell me one thing, guys. Are you aware about box plot or not? Box plot, because in tomorrow class we will be going to see all these things in a practical way. Okay, so box plot. Okay, are you aware about the EDA part, guys? Have you ever plotted a histogram, count plot, or something? I'm telling, have you ever plotted count plot, histogram, pair plot, or these things? Have you not attended my this data analysis class? Data analysis from zero to hero. It was also on YouTube on LetsUpgrade channel only. Guys, data analysis is the most important part of data science life. Okay, a data scientist is basically spending 70% of their time for the pre-processing and for the EDA purpose. Okay, okay, Gaurav, no problem. So 9.5 to 28.5, this is going to be my value. Now there is something called box plot. Okay, let me just draw this line first of all. Okay, now you were the one, guys, who told me that this is going to be your median. So let me just write a value 5.5. Okay, now let me just consider the other values also. Let us just say 3.5. I'm just drawing these things on a scale. 1.5, and I can say minus 0.5, or I can say minus 3.0. And let me just take some values over here also. 7.5, 9.5, 11.5, 13.5, 15.5. So this is going to be my median, right? Now what will be my 25th percentile value that we have discussed? It was 4.75, right? So it was somewhere around over here. Okay, and what will be my 75th percentile? It is 14.25, I can say. Okay, so it was over here somewhere. So let me draw a box plot. This is how your box plot is going to look like, guys. The minimum value, let me just take a minimum value till here. Okay, and the was 27. Right now, this is my box plot. This is my 25th percentile. This is my median. This is my 75th. Let me just write it over. 75th percentile. 25th percentile. Okay, this is my median. Okay, this is my minimum, this is my maximum. These are the values. Just see over here. This is the 5-number summary that we have discussed. Okay, and I have just drawn this thing in front of you: minimum, maximum, 25, 75, and median. Now whatever value will be lying over here, these are going to be my outlier. Whatever value will be lying over here, these are going to be my outlier. So I can remove them. Okay, because in tomorrow class we will be doing a practical of all of these things. Okay, so now just tell me one thing. Are you clear about the outliers and what is box plot and how you can use interquartile range? Yeah, Q3 I've already explained, Gaurav. Okay, it is good, Rinku, if you are even able to understand, I can say a 50% of this thing. Because whenever we are seeing something for the first time, okay, for sure, percent. Okay, we basically have to spend our time again and again. We basically have to watch that thing 2-3 times. Okay, after that we will be able to understand the whole thing. Okay, so it's good if you are even able to understand 50% of these things. This is basically a mathematical formula. This is a mathematical formula, guys. Okay, now just tell me one thing, guys. Are you aware about the normal distribution and standard normal distribution? Guys, are you aware about the normal distribution or standard normal distribution? Like standard scalar, normal distribution, normalizer. In machine learning only. This also comes inside statistics also. Some of people are saying yes that they are aware about this thing. So for the next minute, we are just going to discuss about the normal distribution and standard normal distribution. After that, we will be going to end this class. Okay, so this is the last topic that is going to be, and just remember this thing, guys. Most important topic, guys. Interviewer for sure interview is going to pick a question in this normal distribution and standard normal distribution. So you should be aware about these things. What is the normal distribution? What is the standard normal distribution and all of these things. Okay. Now, just okay. Homework, please. Okay. So one homework that I can basically give to all of you. Oh, just a second. Okay, one homework I can basically give to all of you. Okay, guys, just see if you have a y variable, the dependent, I can say the dependent one. Okay, so in the classification purpose, suppose there are two classes, 1 and 0. Okay, and if there are basically means that the customer is not going to leave the company. Okay, and 0 basically means that the customer is going to leave the company. That is the churn case. Churn. Okay, so just tell me, if you are feeding this data to your model, the one class where customers are not going to leave the company. Okay, and if I just say about the 0, hello guys, am I audible? Okay. Okay. Okay, good. So guys, just see if there are two classes inside your data set. Okay, some columns will be there. Yeah, I'm explaining, Priyanshu. Do not worry about this thing. Okay, there are some independent columns. This basically have two classes. The one is going to be the customer is going to leave the company, and the 0 is going to be that the customer is not going to leave the company. Okay, so over here I can basically say that if you are going to feed this data to your model, right, so at that time your model is going to learn more about the first class where customer is not going to leave, and your model basically have less knowledge with respect to the 0th class, right? So if you said, so most of the time your model is predicting the output as 1, that the customer put for me. Okay, I basically want to create a generalized model over here. Now for this thing I need to balance these data points. I need to, hello, yeah, is it still breaking, guys? Need to perform an operation that this is my 1 class. I also want to increase my data points of the 0th class. Okay, till here. Okay, good. So I basically need to balance my data set. Okay, I think there will be a little bit problem, guys, with respect to my network. So I need to balance my data set. So this is your homework. You basically need to learn about these techniques, how you can balance your data set in machine learning. Okay, so this is your homework that is going to be. My name is Satyam. Okay, so one last topic that we was basically understanding. Okay, so this is going to be your normal distribution. Yeah, resampling. But what are the different ways of resampling, Donald? Okay, and which one is good? Which one is a good technique? Are you going to apply a random sampling, or are you going to apply a stratified stratified sampling, or maybe a clustering sampling? Which one is basically you are going to apply at that time? Okay, this is the main question. You just cannot apply any random sampling technique over there, because at the end you need to create a generalized model. Okay, now yeah, Rajesh, we also call this normal distribution as a bell curve. Okay, now what are the properties of normal distribution? Okay, my first standard distribution, there will be a 60%, 68% of data that is spread in my first standard deviation, and in the second standard deviation there will be a 95% data. Okay, and in the third standard deviation there will be a 99.7% of data. Now what do I mean by this thing? If I am plotting, okay, if yeah, basically this is the normal distribution curve. Okay, in normal distribution curve, if I have a age column, okay, or if I have a weight column, and I am just plotting a normal distribution of it, so it will be telling me the value that is lying between the first standard deviation Okay, the graph that I will be able to see. So it is telling me 68% of the data is lying under the first standard deviation. This basically means that the first standard deviation that I have, suppose there are 25 age of peoples are lying under 68% of data. Okay, if there is a 95%, so at that time I can say there might be 40 till 40 age peoples are lying inside my second standard deviation. So this is the inside that I'm calculating for my machine learning model. So I will be able to know the importance of my data over here. Okay, and one more thing, why we basically apply a normal distribution, there is something called as a normalization technique. Suppose if my value is basically having like this, so these are some big values, the 500, 100 and the 600. If I'm sending this data, okay, so my model, yeah, Donald, this is also the function that is available inside the scikit-learn. But just try to understand this thing. But at the end, the most useful technique is going to be the resampling one. But which resampling you basically have to use at that time? This is the main question. Okay, now. So these are some big values that are present inside my data set. So what I want, I should convert all these values from, I can say, 0 to 1. Okay, so if I'm sending these points to my model, it will not face any kind of a difficulty, because there are some models. Okay, so there are prerequisite of those models to normalize the data. These are the assumptions, like a linear regression, logistic clustering algorithm, right? They basically want that the data that you are sending to me, to the model, okay, it should be normalized. Okay, so at that time normal distribution came inside a picture. But if there are outliers, guys, okay, so you cannot, so for that thing you have to convert your normal distribution or the data into a standard normal distribution. Okay, standard normal distribution. Now what is standard normal distribution? Let us just try to understand this thing. Okay, these are my data points, right? So standard normal distribution, the formula of this is going to be x minus mu over this thing. So this is basically nothing, your mean, and this is going to be your standard deviation. Now what do I mean by this thing? Okay, now let us just consider a data point. I can say 1 comma 3 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Now for, let us just assume that this, okay, let us just assume that this is your median. So this is your mean, the average mean. Let us just assume this thing, guys. Okay, now I want to plot these data points into my this graph. Okay, so this is going to be look like 0, because this is the formula. Let me just apply these values inside this formula. X is nothing but my data point, this one, and the mean is going to be 3, and the standard deviation is going to be 1. So it is just giving me 0. So for 3 I'm just representing at 0. Now for 2, what I'm going to do, 2, this X data point is going to be 2 minus the mean, that is going to be 3, divided by the standard deviation, that is going to be minus 1. This is minus 1. Similarly for the 1, this is going to be minus 2. Okay, for the 4 this is going to be 1, for the 5 this is going to be 2. Okay, now just see this thing, guys. Just even consider these things. Okay, suppose this is the value of 500. Okay, and if you are just representing this thing over here, so your 500, this is your 4 value, this is your 500. Okay, just see, so the distance between these points is nothing but this point is one standard deviation away from this point. Okay, so this is basically your standard normal distribution. Now, do you have any kind of a caution with respect to this thing, guys? Cautions. Let me just open my this thing. Okay, and let me just stop my screening. Yeah, so do you have any kind of a question with respect to this thing, guys? Because this is the end of our first day of machine learning. The next day we will be doing all the practical stuff. Okay, where I will be teaching you how to implement any data set into a machine learning. Okay, and how to even perform an end-to-end project. Okay, so you can basically build your resume. And for sure, the project that I'm going to show you, it will be a real life project. Yeah, it is only 2 days, Rinku, but for more you can basically join Let's Upgrade. Okay, yes, not for sure, I'm not going to take these data, a real life one, so you will be able to learn something new. Okay, and for sure the techniques inside a machine learning that you are going to see, you will be not able to find that on Kaggle. Yeah, Donald, do not worry. I will be not showing you this type of projects, the Titanic and this one. We will be discussing a real-time project only. If you basically, guys, if you all want to make a anti-insider data science inside industry, so you should have a knowledge of deep learning as well as natural language processing. And inside Let's Upgrade, if you are joining our full stack, okay, just let me show you. If you are joining a full stack course, we will be even providing you a job over here. Okay, we are even providing you a job, and the curriculum that we have basically designed, this is based on the real life industry, like what projects we are doing inside our industry and all the things. Okay, so this is how we are basically teaching our student. Only Python, Rinku. You do not have to learn any other language. Python is sufficient. Okay, Python is sufficient, Rinku. So if you are even joining this thing, okay, a Let's Upgrade program. So at that time, we will be teaching you Python from the very basics and all the things. Today's class, in tomorrow class, sure, even Donald, okay, you will be not finding that project on Kaggle and the techniques that we are going to apply over there. Okay, so guys, this was it about today's class. Okay, so see you in next class only. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, bye.